Welcome back. The postponement of today's debt ceiling meeting pushes President Biden and congressional leaders ever closer to the June 1st deadline, even as aides continue negotiations behind the scenes. The biggest obstacle to a deal may be the calendar. The House of Representatives only has 8 days left in session this month, and as it stands, Mr. Biden is set to attend the G7 summit in Japan next Friday. Joining me now is our panel: Susan Page, Washington Bureau Chief for USA Today; Faiz Shakir, Senior Advisor to Senator Bernie Sanders; and Michael Steele, former RNC Chairman and an NBC political analyst. Thanks to all of you for being here. Appreciate it. Susan, let me start with you. Where are we with these talks? There was supposed to be a meeting today. It's not happening. What do you make of that?
To my astonishment, I think they're going to make a deal. And
Okay.
I'm usually fine with predicting catastrophe in Washington.
We
but
rely
I don't
on you
think the
for that.
postponement of this particular meeting is a bad sign. I think it might be a good sign because I think it may mean staff is getting closer to a deal. I think we have an idea of what that deal would be. It would be a little spending package that the White House would say was separate from the debt ceiling, and Republicans would say was part of raising the debt ceiling. But I've been surprised by the limited amount of posturing that we've seen to this point. And you said the deadline is a problem. I think the deadline they face is an advantage because it has cut out some of the stuff we might have expected.
Michael, weigh in on that. I mean, Susan makes a great point, which is that rarely do big things get done here in Washington if there's not a deadline.
Susan's spot on. I think that analysis hits to the core of the dynamics where everybody's going to walk away with a little bit of bragging rights about how this thing played out. The Freedom Caucus will largely preserve their interest because, to Susan's point, that will be in a piece that they can claim, see, we got these spending cuts as part of the deal. Democrats will say we held the line and did not capitulate to this idea of, increased spending connected directly to the debt ceiling. So everybody will have something they can walk away with. The reality of the politics is what's driving this whole thing, to Susan's point about the deadline, because nobody wants this thing to move into the fall as the presidential campaign kicks up, and they certainly don't want to have to deal with it next March. So you get this done now, everybody beats their chest as the summer begins to unfold. People go back, have their pina colada, and everybody's happy. You come back to Washington in September. Presidential primaries are well underway, debates are starting, all that good stuff, and so the kids on the playground will be happy because this thing won't hold them up.
I'll play residential cynic then, because I mean, Susan, I want a deal to happen. So I think it's possible, and I think you're both being very rational about the fact that there's a deal on the table that both sides could swallow. But however, you still need to count the votes. And for McCarthy, you feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. There's a danger of a deal that has a preponderance of a huge number of Democratic votes that carried over the line. And the question for me has always been, would Kevin McCarthy, as Speaker, be comfortable if a deal that had 200 plus Democrats plus 50 Republicans, whatever it would take, then yeah, we're there.
Not 50 Republicans. The question
that's what I was going to ask you. Right. What do you think is that our number?
Yeah, what's the number?
Would he be comfortable with a deal that had counted on Democratic votes to get over the finish line, not a majority of the majority, not a majority of Republicans?
And what do you think?
I think he
go for it?
He has said in the past that he believes in the majority theory of life, the Hastert rule, as we used to call it. But maybe I'm being
But
naive.
you're saying he needs a majority of his own.
I'm saying maybe he doesn't.
Oh,
maybe he doesn't because maybe the combination of the deadline and the seriousness of raising this.
That's
Michael, what
am.
about that? And what about the Freedom Caucus? What about the far right?
I think
caucus?
that's an excellent point.
Is it possible?
It is the skeleton
out?
that's sort of hanging out that everyone doesn't want to look at. That, yeah, you need a majority of the majority. Never understood why that rule, orients Washington the way it does.
Because to put this into context, just so people understand what we're saying, there is a fraction of the Republican Party that doesn't see default as a bad thing. They think that Biden will bear the consequences.
Donald Trump literally advocating for it.
Right. And that's the problem. Say default is not a bad thing until it is. Yeah. And it is when everybody, all those federal workers who are living in those districts, that those congressmen are beating their chest as they get their paycheck, by the way, folks, and you don't, are saying that, this is the principle. Well, principle me, education money for my kids' education and food on my table. And that, I think, is the politics of this, to Susan's point, that will push that majority of the majority idea down a little bit more. It won't be, I'm thinking maybe 10, 15 at most Democrats necessarily coming in.
One thing I think we can agree on, it'll probably come down to the wire. Let me, since you raised the issue of Trump, let me pivot to the fact that he and his likely Republican challenger, Ron DeSantis, Michael, are going to be in Iowa together this weekend. People are starting to lose faith that DeSantis is going to be a real challenger, but is it still early? How do you see? He picked up 2 endorsements, we should say.
Who did?
DeSantis.
Oh, God bless him.
Yeah. So you're not sold? You don't?
No.
But he's got 2 years.
Imagine Ron DeSantis on that stage Wednesday night with Donald Trump. Just the 2 of them with a moderator. How do you think that plays out for him?
Well, okay, to your point, let me read you this from Matt Continetti, who writes, Trump's electoral record is not especially impressive. Most voters do not like him, have voted against him, and more likely than not will vote against him again. Nor has Trump's force field repelled attacks from his fellow Republicans. There haven't been attacks to repel. Trump is advancing toward the GOP nomination and looks competitive against Biden for a simple reason. He faces no resistance. If Republican challengers won't say why Donald Trump should be denied the presidency, Democrats will. But Faiz, I haven't heard yes, the president has gone after him, but selectively.
In this last segment, we were just talking about default, right? And where is a Republican who says Donald Trump is being irresponsible? Of course we can't default. They won't even say that. Or abortion. Like, hey, he didn't even give you a stance, a clear stance that you can hold him to account to on where he stands on abortion. He's saying, so for negotiation, just pick me and I'm going to figure some stuff out. That's a position. And they're going to let him ride with that? It's crazy that a conservative party would just say, yeah, no, whatever he decides.
And yet they are, Susan. When, if ever, and clearly the calculation is, particularly from his potential challengers, we don't want to alienate the Trump base because they're thinking they need the Trump base in order to win the nomination. But do the gloves come off at the debates, if ever?
You know, some of the Republican hopefuls are challenging Trump, like Chris Sununu, the governor of New Hampshire, or Asa Hutchinson, the former governor of Arkansas. But they're not the candidates who matter. Really, the only challenger who matters at this moment is Ron DeSantis, and he's been very careful about not challenging Trump. The problem is we don't have a Republican Party anymore. We have a Trump Party. So you cannot risk really turning off Trump voters because they are with Trump. Even the ones who are concerned about it, don't like his rhetoric, they're still with him.
When D.A. Bragg indicted Donald Trump, Ron DeSantis was one of the first ones to come to his defense. So if I'm Donald Trump, that's my first TV ad the day he announces.
And yet we didn't see it. This is, well, he hasn't announced yet, to be fair, but we haven't seen that attack. Susan, to your point about Chris Sununu, he writes today in the Washington Post, or he said in the Washington Post, of the town hall that you just brought up, Michael, quote, it was weak, it was defensive, it was bitter. It really was everything that America is not looking for in leadership, and it just reiterated the idea that he cannot win in November. He could get the nomination, but he could not win in November. He didn't even look like he had his fastball anymore. He's like a shell of himself. Faiz, do Democrats or Republicans like Chris Sununu run the risk of underestimating Trump's abilities in a general election?
Oh, for sure. I mean, that guy's won a presidency before. We can't underestimate his abilities. But I think none of the Republicans are talking about how you win to speak to Republican voters about his weaknesses. And we all know if the Republican polls tell us that they don't see him as the most electable candidate in the field. That's the if DeSantis were to win, it's just because they made an electability argument on the Republican side and said, we think that Donald Trump is weaker than Ron DeSantis. But no one can effectively convince Republican voters because that argument, yes, in an op-ed, that's not speaking to millions of Republican voters, which is what somebody needs to do that.
Okay. Thank you so much. Great conversation, Susan, Faiz, and Michael. Really appreciate it. Happy Friday to all.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories and breaking news by downloading the NBC News app.